Alrighty. So how long you been playing Total War Warhammer or just Total War in general?
Oh man, Total War in general, a lot of years. I've been playing competitively since the days of Medieval 2 Total War.
Wow.
I took I took a big break during like Warhammer 1 and
Uh-huh.
came back at playing like earlier this year.
So
So
you have been
a
around.
long time.
You've been
Yeah,
around.
I've been around.
And so I know you're famously a Bretonnia main,
That is true.
but what other races would you say? Give me your, I don't know, what you got, like a top five, maybe a top three.
Top five of the races I'm playing.
Yeah, who do you like to play
Uh,
the most other than Bretonnia?
Honestly, um, I think it's quite important to be able to play almost all factions. So it might be easier to say those I don't play. I'm not really a big undead fan, neither Skavens. The elfish factions are really nice to play.
Yeah,
Quite a few playstyle you can go around with them. Lizards, Empire, and I'm starting to take a liking into Greenskins and Dawi.
excellent.
It's
So
still
I
early stages.
I agree exactly with that. You guys, did you hear what he said? He said it's important to play just about everything. Which
Yes, it is.
absolutely, I couldn't agree with that more. When you got 15 factions in a game, what are you doing? You gotta play most of them. Otherwise, you only play half. You're gonna get dumpstered by half of them.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
true. Especially in tournament settings where you've got a draft phase.
Mm,
I think it's really easy to look over how important drafting is as a skill for a player. Uh, it's something a lot of people overlook, and doesn't matter if you are like slightly better than your opponent. If you get stuck into bad matchups on your best of three or best of five, you're gonna lose the series, or at least you're losing a big edge over your opponent.
absolutely. Yeah, that makes sense. Honestly, I haven't really talked to anybody about that before, so that's a really good point. That drafting your factions is a big skill in a tournament, obviously, and I personally, when I play a player that is close to my skill level, a lot of time we will do a draft. We'll purposely do a draft just to kind of simulate that. I assume that's something you would recommend people do if they're interested in playing at a higher level. They should probably do some simulated drafting, huh?
Yeah, depends if you've got enough players to practice with, right? But if you've
Mm-hmm.
got a friend or at least someone that you play with and which is like on similar levels, practicing drafting is also important. It's nice to be able to play the same matchup 5 times in a row and practice that one, right? If you're struggling with lizards against, I don't know, a dark elf, it's important to practice your matchup. But it's also really important to not look over how bad draft can screw you over if you mess up that stage. So yeah, practicing draft is also interesting,
Yeah.
but it's something that tends to require a few players to practice with, or else you're just gonna be used to drafting against your friend, not against regular competitive players.
That's true. So now you're in ODM,
Correct.
and so you regularly, obviously, you practice. I would assume mostly with your clanmates, other ODM members, right?
Yes, quite a lot within ODM, but I'm also trying to practice as much as I can outside of the clan. Yeah, there is this weird phenomenon of if you only practice like with let's say a couple of regular players, like let's say four or members of your clan, like upon a stretch of a few months, you will develop your very own little meta, and that can backfire against you. So it's important to practice with your clanmate, yes, but it's also really interesting, in my opinion, to practice with players outside of your clan to see what their view on a certain matchup is or on a meta.
What an interesting. I like how you phrased that. You and your friend will develop your own meta between the 2 or the 4 or however many people that you've got, and you'll start to know what they're gonna bring, and you can predict against it, and you might drift off from a build that's actually effective, and it's only tailored to the people you're playing with against their play style, and then you'll get really caught off guard. So
Exactly.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Practice with as many people as you can, folks. That's what's going on. As many different races as you can, and as many people as you can. That's good advice.
It
Variety.
sounds pretty obvious when you phrase it like
Yeah.
that. But yeah,
I'm a
that's
teacher, so that's kind of my job. You're gonna say stuff, and I'm gonna like try and paraphrase it. You know, that's what we're doing.
We'll do it that way.
Okay. All right. So I have a few replays. I've got 5 here that have been sent to me by some viewers and some people on the Discord and whatnot. The first one, I'm gonna save the Bretonnia one for last. I hear it's a really good battle, so I'm gonna save that one for last. Right now we've got 2 Lizardmen versus... Wait, no, this one says Lizardmen versus Dawi 2, but I don't have the other one. Oh well. Let's watch this one. Okay. I assume you're good, or are you watching the stream?
I'm watching the stream.
Perfect. Okie dokie. Let's take a look just in general. Look at the armies here. We got red-crested skinks, and we have a coatl blob.
It's a coatl blob indeed.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that I personally really dislike about a coatl, and I was actually talking with Mr. Doodles, who's a viewer of mine, just a friend of mine at this point, really. Last night, he was saying that if he brings a coatl, he only does it when there's a map that has a forest, because when you first load in, you can see the units underneath the coatl for a bit, right?
Exactly.
And so I think, I'm not sure if that's just a bug. I imagine it's a bug, because it doesn't really make sense.
I think it's the way they coded it, because the effect isn't triggered while you're deploying, and it's gonna trigger at the beginning of the game, but it's not instant. Like it has a small, a small window in which it will start triggering, and you can see everything.
Which, that basically eliminates the entire purpose of bringing a coatl. I can see what you brought. I don't care that I can hit it or not that quickly. At least I can strategize against it.
It can be a nice tool to save some units from artillery fire. Let's say your opponent has cannon, and I think that's the case in that game. If you are on point with your micro, at least a coatl is a pretty fast moving unit, so you can move around while maintaining those units hidden. And let's say you've got big monsters that are slower on foot, like a Stegadon, which can be trickier to dodge with. Still doable, but trickier. At least your coatl will deny the opportunity for your opponent to shoot at your Stegadon. But that's basically the only uses I see to this ability, because like you said, unless you're on a forest map, you're never gonna see. Well, your opponent is gonna know if you have hidden unit beneath your coatl at the beginning of the game.
That's just. I hope they fix that. I hope they change it, because that doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. Like you said, they probably scripted it that way. It doesn't. It needs to engage when you're deploying. Doodles, go ahead and send them to me, man. If we get to them, we'll get to them, and if not, no worries. And yeah, whenever you need to dip out, Saphir, I know it's late, like I said. So don't be shy. Don't think you need to stay for a long time or anything. I just appreciate you coming on the stream in the first place. So we got the Dawi force here. We got 2 cannons, Longbeards with great weapons in the back. Miners blasting charges, 4 of them, and then we have 5 Longbeards total. Trollhammer, Torpedo, Bugman's Rangers, and Thoric on. I think he's on his little thing. Oh my goodness. Yeah, he is. He's on his Anvil of Doom. Now, my first thoughts here are Lizardmen, no Slayers. Granted, troll hammers and cannons. But I personally am a big fan of Slayers in such a matchup. Just 1 or 2 units.
That is true. They tend to suffer against good Pterodon play because Pterodon can kill them over the duration of the game, and they have a really good rock drop that can be troublesome for Quarrelers unit and such. I could see why some player would not bring Slayers, but it's really, yeah, like Ice Power is saying in chat. Although they do good damage to the monsters, two issues are going to be the fact that lizards tend to have a lot of range. Jav Skinks or Chameleon Skinks, Pterodon, those units are going to kill the Slayers pretty fast. Besides, you don't have the mass or enough slows to force the big monsters to remain against your Slayers long enough. So, especially if you're boxing up. Let's say your opponent has brought Croxigors to support his Skinks or Stegodon. At the moment you send in the Slayers, he's gonna answer back with range fire, and he can pull back out of the melee his Stegodon or his Croxigors. And since they have higher mass, they can just disengage by walking through their own unit, whereas the Slayers can't follow that, and they get shot back. And it can be tricky to use Slayers against a very good lizard with good micro.
That makes a lot of sense. This is why we bring these people onto the stream, you guys. I'm learning. Hopefully you guys are learning. That absolutely makes a lot of sense. Of course, in this matchup, I bring lots of jabs. I'll bring some Croxigors and stuff on the lizards. And yeah, now that I really think about it, you do just run away from the Slayers with your higher mass. You just run through your skinks and then they just get trapped up.
Exactly.
So, oh yeah, Dino. Yeah, Dino, send us a replay. It's fine. And yeah, Saphir is the one that won the tourney most recently. That's what he's doing here. He agreed to come on the stream with us and just give us a nice higher level perspective. He plays with the big boys. He's a big boy. Oh, and hey, CF Bomber. First time here. Welcome. I hope you enjoy the content. Let's get into it. Let's watch this. Let's watch these collides. Oh, and there's some Pterodons in the far back with some Chameleon Stalkers as well. I did not notice them. Alrighty, here we go. And if you have anything to say and you want me to pause it, just tell me. I'll put that pause on.
Right.
The obvious target, the Coatl, nothing else that you could be firing on. Those cannons going in.
Yes, it's gonna be pretty important for the lizards to dodge with that Coatl. It doesn't have any good targets to like for the cannons, so the cannons are gonna be firing at the Coatl anyway.
Yeah.
Although he's forgetting one of his infantry unit.
Oh, yep, there he is in the back. That's a bummer. It's an easy thing not to forget, and it's also an easy thing to forget. The Rangers?
Yeah. One of the big issues of Korok, when you're playing a skink build, he's gonna lag behind because he has Saurus speed.
Yeah, he's so slow. He's one of them
He
Saurus
is.
boys. Look at the damage on this Coatl. Ouch.
Yeah, my guess is that he's gonna use the Coatl to disrupt the Iron Drakes or the cannon once the melee breaks out.
I like the Stalker Vanguard. These are sneaky, sneaky little buggers.
Yeah. I would have liked to see them come a bit earlier to deny that minus volley. That did put a lot of hurt for the red crested skinks on the right wing.
Yeah. Timing is a huge issue for a lot of players. I know I still struggle with it, and I've been practicing for months and months at this point.
Yeah, especially in a rush build. A rush build is all about timing. If you successfully time everything properly, you should be winning the game. The defensive player has to be the one disrupting your rhythm, and cancel your rush or deny the progression of one flank while allowing the other to come a bit too early, or just suffer range fire.
That's such good advice. I struggle because I tend to be too passive when I'm being rushed. I won't deny a flank, I won't move out, I won't make sure I'm counterplaying the rush. I'll just let them do it, and then once they have everything timed up correctly, I lose the game pretty much immediately.
Well, if you're not playing with artillery, it's against a rush build. It can be really useful to do a surprise pivot when the infantry gets near, just to disrupt the rhythm at which the infantry will fight yours. You are denying one flank while offering the other. Like moving one of your flank up while making the other one fall back can disrupt the rush player quite a lot.
Wow, that's such an interesting idea. I like that. I'm gonna have to try that. Just rotating a little bit. Just go
Exactly.
in, pull back. Huh.
As long as you don't have to hold the position of artillery, it's
Uh-huh.
fine to reposition your army a lot of time. A defensive build doesn't have to be a stationary one.
Would you say you almost shouldn't be stationary unless you have artillery?
Well, artillery is not easy to move around.
Right.
You tend to lose a lot of time repositioning the pieces, and they are losing important volleys. It's really rare to see an artillery expend all of its ammo, so they probably need to use all of their ammo and as much as they can, so they need to hold their position when the enemy is rushing them. Whereas range unit, like Quarterers or Chameleons Kings, can be repositioned and they can expend all of their ammo over the span of a game.
Absolutely. Dude, you guys, we have a wise man on the stream today. This is perfect. I'm digging it. Could you tell me, how do you feel about the battle progression right now? What are some mistakes maybe that you saw, some good play that you saw? How do you feel about this?
Uh, well, I think, well, like we mentioned, timing. The Lizardman timing was off. He had the flanking unit that came a bit too late, allowing miners to get critical charge. When you're rushing a dwarf player, which would expect a rush, he's probably gonna have miners to wait out that charge of yours. And miners with blasting charges tend to do a lot of damage against low armored unit.
Yeah.
And when you're playing red crested skinks, which are really low armored but damage dealing AP units, you need to protect them. I think what he did with his monsters was quite fine. The timing of the monster rush was good. Coatl, well, was slightly mismicroed. I think he's not. Well, let's put it that way. When he was moving forward the Dwarven army, I think he was mostly looking at his unit, whereas he didn't have much micro except the Coatl. So it would have been more interesting for him to look at the Dwarven army and trying to time on the cannon volley rather than just relying on luck of moving your Coatl around and expecting cannons to miss.
So,
Other than that, monsters have disrupted the gun line quite effectively. When you're watching, well, artillery is offline right now, but when you're watching both of the range unit, Iron Dykes and it was the Quada unit, right?
yeah.
Both of them have a lot of ammo left and they can't expend it right now, so that's good. A lot of the lizard unit might rally, but I'm a bit worried that the monsters are just gonna die now. Although Gorok is gonna be an issue now that he's in melee, and he's gonna probably deal some of that pain on the enemy lord.
Yeah, he's putting the hurt on Thoric for sure, too. So, oh my goodness, what was I going to say? Oh, I really liked the tip, how you're saying when you're going up against the artillery like that, you should be looking at the artillery when they fire, because that the trajectory of the projectile has been determined. Once they fire, that's when you move, right? Is what you're saying?
Exactly. Like if we're taking an easier example, I think one of the artillery piece that's gonna like a okay, let's take example of mortars, like Empire mortars or Skaven mortars. They are some of the easiest to predict range, both because the projectile is really slow and because the projectile is really bright, right? Skaven mortars is really greenish, flying over the place, and Empire mortars are really bright orange and red. So what you need to think when you're trying to dodge range unit is that um, fiddling around without any purpose won't be the most effective way. You want to try to time like a what will it be, a 90-degree turn if you can, and just because you need to remember that if you're, let's say, moving in a straight line and the enemy cannon is shooting at you, if you are going sideways when he's starting to shoot, you're still facing him quite head on. So going like slightly sideways and then on the other hand, it will make the cannon overshoot a lot more because they have a long travel time, cannon and mortars even more. So you need to use that travel time against them because the enemy crew is not aiming at your model where it's standing when it's on the move. It's aiming at where the model will be when the cannon reaches. Like it's doing all of that math and trying to predict where your model is. So if you are doing 90-degree turn, like I don't know, a staircase movement going forward, and you are doing turns when the cannon is aiming at you and shooting, most of the cannon shots are gonna miss.
Yeah, absolutely. My accents are really improving. Thanks, Castro.
No, if my accent is troublesome, I can repeat some stuff. No big deal.
You're very clear. I have to say. He's just laughing because I do lots of accents on the stream.
Alright.
The Russians really like when I do my Russian accent. I'd be like, "Hello, this is what I sound like when I do the Russian accent." You know, they say it is. They go, it is perfect. That is spot on. Like
It
really
is spot
good.
on.
And thank you.
It is spot on.
Thank you. So I've been working on the French. I really have.
Oh.
I've been working on that one.
Give me your best French impression.
How do you say you want my best French accent? It is only okay. It is not perfect yet, but
it has a solid base.
I'm working on it. You know?
Yeah, the base is solid, but you need to fiddle around a few things.
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
hit the perfect pronunciation of the air of the th that become a z.
Z. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't say the, you say z.
Z.
With a z, th becomes a z in French.
See, he's got, you guys, not only does he have Warhammer advice, he's got accent advice for me. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. All right, though. So, dodge them shots. He's saying a nice stair step, and I like the analogy because they're 90-degree turns. And you were saying, I think, you don't want to go straight at the cannon in the first place. You want to go a little bit to the side so that it's kind of shooting off, let's say, to the right. And then when you turn left, it really, really overshoots, is what you were saying.
Exactly, okay. Depending on the arc of fire.
Yeah.
Like mortars, for example, are going to do like an overhead arc of fire. So what you want to do against mortars is move your army forward, and when you see the mortars shoot, you move backwards instantly, and it's always going to miss. Like let's say you are playing a rush with a lot of a range unit, right? Mortars are going to be a bane for you. If you're a wood elf rushing empire, and you've got mortars shooting at your archers, you don't want to have that. That's going to be really painful. So when you see the mortars start shooting, use that really long travel time and that arc of fire against them. You can just move backward. You're fast, and the mortars reload slowly, and it's always gonna miss.
Makes sense. It absolutely makes sense. All right, let's watch this. If I had to predict who I thought was gonna win this game, to me, I don't know. I kind of like the lizard position, except for these red-crested skinks in the back. Who are you voting for in this game, Saphir?
Well, balance of power favors lizardmen, and I think that's a fair assessment. Also because I don't know many good anti-monsters tools the Dwarven army has, and I think there is Arcor Sortex in that lizard's army still alive.
Yeah.
Um, Although he's starting to lack some chaff support for his monsters, so they're gonna hit it a lot, even if
Yeah.
the enemy units are not anti-large. That's a bit scary. Besides, some of that balance of power is on that infantry unit not fighting,
Yeah.
and
Which is a bummer.
priest unit like damsels, mage, and skin priest tend to have a higher impact on balance of power than they should.
Mm-hmm.
So when I still see a priest alive, I think to tune down a bit the enthusiasm of this balance of power.
Yeah,
But I
I
would say lizards are still like favored right here.
the balance of power we often say is drunk. We don't listen to that necessarily.
Yeah,
I think the key to the dwarfs would be to get these iron drakes back online. That would be
exactly.
my focus if I was the dwarf player. You've got to
There are
bring
better
some of
tools to.
these iron breakers in, something like
Uh-huh.
that. Get them online, shoot in, take out the
Right now,
coatl or
he should
this
try,
arc.
since there are not that many chaff units left,
Mm-hmm.
and he has a lot of infantry, he doesn't want to blow up everything. You like best case scenario for him is to split his quarters on one end and his iron drakes on the other, so that one monsters cannot deny both of them getting back online, and try to use his chaff to one kill the priest that's out of position
Right.
and maybe still has some magic left, and that could be an issue, and two the yeah get your range unit out of melee and
All right.
trying to at least move the fight away from where the cannon crow is. Because maybe if you force that blob to follow your range unit, you can get the cannon crow back on and still shoot at the monsters. Even for a few bodies, that might matter in a close game situation.
Excellent. Alrighty. Let's find out the outcome, shall we? This coatl's just knocking people around.
Yeah.
I actually think the coatl's it's not a terrible unit. It's a little gimmicky, but it performs pretty well oftentimes.
I'm not a big fan of that unit, just because they tend to be better options for what you want to achieve as the lizards for a lower price or at least on equivalent price better performing unit. It won't give you that good of like air control against other air factions, so it's not as impacting as it may sound. But the bound abilities are really nice. They can be really useful.
Yeah, the bound spells are definitely really good. And one went out early from him. I was pretty good. It hit one of the ranged units. I don't remember what, but it was actually a fairly good cast, I felt.
It's basically the Arcane Phoenix, but for lizards.
Yeah.
An Arcane Phoenix is a decent unit, just not one you would bring in any build blindly.
Mm-hmm. What's shooting at it? All these torpedoes? I think just quite a few of these are back online. It's really
the Iron Dykes are online. That's a good play for Dwarf, but he's starting to look to lack some single entity power. His Lord is almost out.
Yeah.
But he's chasing around the priest. That's nice.
That is. Get him, Longbeards, get him.
And now he can mount the cannon back online again and shoot at the single entities.
Ooh.
And I think he's gonna do that.
Yeah, it looks like it. That's some really good. Just paying attention to his cannon routing, realizing he's got it back, protecting them as they come back and actually get it back online. Not always an easy thing to do. Gonna fire?
If he's obstructed, that would be a bit tragic.
Yeah, very tragic. I agree.
Maybe he doesn't have enough models. I don't see how many models there are still online.
Yeah, there's 8.
But the other cannon should be, it should be enough to at least man 1 or 2 cannons.
Yeah. I think he's just hasn't clicked on the cannon.
Yeah, all those miners, those blasting charges volley are really, really impactful
There
right
you
now.
go. This cannon's back. This cannon's back
Nice.
online. Wow, this is coming down to the wire.
Yeah, I
Gorok.
think now dwarf are favored.
Gorok routes.
So,
Yeah, looks like it.
yeah,
Looks like dwarves are gonna win.
he needs to chase down Gorok, and the cannon in every range tool he has. Like he has some Quellers back online. Start shooting at the quadle right now. You might get a balance of power army loss. That would be nice right now.
Right, if it
But yeah,
routed.
lack of chassis is probably what gave his game to the Dawi.
So just at the very end, just this one red-crested skink might have lost the lizards this game. How sad is that?
Yeah, it's like you said, it's an easy mistake to make,
Mm-hmm.
but it's one that can be really impactful.
Yeah, huge. Well, that was pretty good. I'm pretty impressed with the dwarf player from the rush and not getting too flustered, just managing his units, just doing what he could.
Yeah.
And
Although that's a pretty big blunder. I should chase Gorok off the map. Gorok has a lot of HP.
tons of
Gorok,
HP.
Gorok can't win the battle right now. There's just too many Dawi still alive. But still, when you've got a Lord, high on HP that's routing and that's as slow as Gorok, chase him off the map.
Yeah.
That's so much damage you don't have to deal anymore to the enemy army. You're gonna give them a big moral debuff, and besides, it's always gonna be worth it because you won't suffer from that Lord eating your army again.
Absolutely. Are there any situations? I mean, you probably recommend if you route most things, you should chase them off. Do you build, when you build an army, do you have kind of low tier units that you specifically go, okay, these units I'm gonna chase things off with? Is that something you plan for?
Yes, it depends on the build and depends on the matchup. For example, I would not always advise chase around a routing unit. One of the key factors you need to think of when you are considering, should I chase around that unit or should I maintain my formation and keep a cohesive army, is the speed. I think speed is a really overlooked stat. If you are having the mobility advantage and if you have the faster unit, always chase around units because that's free damage and free unit you're gonna get off the battlefield. Speed is more important than killing power when it's come to chasing around unit. Let's say, for example, you're playing High Elf and you have a Lozen Seaguard build where you really want to protect your Lozen Seaguard. Even if you manage to route, let's say, a front line of skinks, don't chase them. One, they are faster than your infantry, so your infantry won't catch back the unit and won't deal damage to them. What eventually will happen is that the skink will be faster and your infantry will get isolated. The skink won't take damage and they will eventually rally. And then you have one of your units that's in a janky position behind the enemy lines. Chase around if you have mobility advantage and you can afford it. Really good unit to chase around are Skirmish Cav, for example.
Yeah,
Just don't forget to untoggle fire at will if you have that toggle because you're gonna waste some valuable ammo.
Yeah. I like that. I love that advice. Skirmish Cav, one of my favorite units to chase with, absolutely. I always put on that melee mode, of course. Yeah, this is just a great unit. They're decently cheap most of the time. A lot of the time after you've done the skirmish phase, there's not anything really super valuable they can do. I feel like one of the most valuable things they can do is just chase something off and keep them from coming back. I imagine also you would say, like, if you, like you said, speed is a very important thing to think of when you're chasing a routing unit. And I imagine value would just be a really important thing. If you have a red-crested skink that's running away and there's a regular skink cohort that's running away, you should probably chase off the red-crested one. They're stronger, they do more damage, just in general.
Try to, that may sound obvious, but when you see two enemy routing units, if your unit is fast enough to chase both of them and making melee contact with both of them, at least equal speed, to not be in that weird situation where the enemy unit is faster, so it will rally and fight back. Then try to prioritize the units that's going to be the most painful for your build to deal with. Let's say, for example, if you are playing a defensive build and you've successfully managed to hold out the first wave of enemy infantry, but your opponent still has some range unit. If you rout off the range unit and an infantry unit, if you've broke his first rush, chase around the range unit, because most of the time when the infantry unit rally, your opponent won't reform a battle line. It will come unit by unit trying to get into your box because you are still dealing range damage to him. So the unit that's going to be the most painful for you in that case will be the range one, because that's the one that's going to be effective as long as it can fire.
Got it. Yeah, got it. That makes sense.
Like, let's say, for example, if we are taking a practical case, let's say you are a Dawi playing against a Wood Elf, and that Wood Elf has a lot of infantry, and it has also some good range tools, like a Glade Guard. Glade Guard? Yeah, well, the Archer unit with AP shots.
Yeah, Glade Guard
If
with
you
Starfire
can chase
shafts.
around one Dryad or one Archers with AP shot, if you are not too worried about your box getting compromised anymore, go for the range unit. That's the one that's for sure gonna deal damage value back if you allow it to reform.
Absolutely. The damage potential. Speed, value, and damage potential. Three things to think of when you're chasing a routing unit. Love it. So we actually have one of my clan mates over here as the Wood Elves. Zam, a very good player and a big friend of the stream. And we've got another one of these Coatls on top of Star Chamber Guardians, some Cold One Spear Riders, Skink Priest of Beasts up on a Pterodon, Oxy, Saurus Spears, some cohorts with Chameleon Skinks in the front. The Wood Elves have some Hagbang Tip Glade Riders in the back. And what is this right here? Same thing, Glade Riders with Hagbang Tips. War Dancers on the flanks. Dryad Core. We've got Hagbang Tips with 2 Starfire shafts and a regular Glade Guard, as a matter of fact. Eternal Guard. We have 2 shields and 1 no shield. And then Great Stag Knights. And they are led by Dryka. Okay. Let's see how this plays out. I'm rooting for my clanmate. Come on, Zam. You can do it, buddy. Which is funny, this was not sent to me by my clanmate. This was sent to me by the Lizardmen player, which is Twofull.
Huh. Interesting.
Oh, ouch. Yeah, Chameleons versus Skirmish Cav. Chameleons are great against them, Skirmish Cav. That's brutal.
They are a superb zoning tool against low armored unit with low HP, and Skirmish Cav are one of the best units for Chameleon Skinks to fight on.
Yeah. I mean, these are basically the Skirmish Cav of the Lizardmen, right?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Ooh, I don't like that he's just letting the Glade Guard fire into him like that.
Yeah, that's pretty bad for him right now. Considering the 2 build, I think Lizard should be the one on the offensive. Just because, well, there's so many archers, like range power, like volume of fire is going to be a big issue for the Lizards. The archers, once they get in range of the enemy army, they don't need their infantry to engage. They're gonna, if they're fighting it out range-wise, they're gonna get the better hand.
Yeah.
They don't need to force the fight. And besides, the Chameleon Kings can't be both fighting the archers and fighting the Skirmish Cav. So
yeah,
if they are positioned in front of the Lizard's army to zone away archers, let's say, the Skirmish Cav can go in the back of the lizards and poke around important units.
Yeah, just shoot
And you're
other
losing your
things
strong
down.
zoning tool.
Yeah. Definitely way more ranged firepower. Whoever has the most ranged firepower, that's going to be the more defensive player, obviously. They're going to sit in the range battle, and you've got to get on them, otherwise you're going to lose.
Yeah, pretty much.
Good Flock of Doom, though. Upgraded. Got a lot of targets. Definitely like that. He's just not moving in. And then Zam's coming in, and as he started to move in a little bit, he just completely shut that down. He went, nope, my ranged units are not interested in you being near us. And he's just completely prevented any forward momentum from the Lizardmen player. Although here comes the Coatl. Go Coatl. He could be on top of these archers.
Yeah, he can go down on the archers. The thing he has to worry about is the what unit has enough mass to like force him in a choke. And infantry doesn't have enough mass to force a Coatl to stay around.
Exactly.
So as long as the Cav is engaged somewhere else,
Yep.
he's free to dive down on archers and disrupt them. But he needs to stay on the move, because if he stays in the melee too long,
Spears.
he's gonna get shot around by the other archers.
Yeah.
Right now he's doing a fine job with his Coatl.
Look at it go. The big
The
blob
issue is,
fight
oh
here.
wow, all of that lizard's infantry is dying.
Yep. I think that Zam's doing the best he can do against the Coatl as well. He's just shooting it. He's got all of his archer units on it. He brought back his Cav to try and stick it into melee longer.
Yeah, and now that Coatl is probably gonna die.
Yeah, it's getting pretty low, but it does
Although the Cav is
break
terror
off the
routing,
Cav.
so that's pretty nice.
It's got a lot of damage on it, though.
Yes.
See, the
No,
balance of
it's
power
starting
is
to look-
favoring the lizard.
Well, that's the skin creep factor.
Yeah, it's just it's drunk. It's just drunk.
It is. But right now, well, Wood Elf eventually will have worse balance of power, because they're almost all of their ammo expended.
Yeah,
so they're
running
gonna
out
have
of
to
the
rely on
ammo.
their infantry a lot. But still, it's really Wood Elf favored right now.
I couldn't agree more.
The Wood Elf needs, like, that's probably a good timing to toggle off the fire at will and start like counting volleys for really important targets. Right now, the Star Chamber Guardian are offering their back to the Wood Elf. Get
Right
into
here.
a good line and don't use that money on don't use those arrows on the already routing
There he
sword
goes.
unit.
Yeah, right. And he's even got these Cav on top of them, so and I really like that. There's literally one model left. What a great unit to chase something off with.
What a champ.
Yeah, what a champ, exactly. I think he heard you back in time. He realizes I'm going to shoot the back of these Star Chamber Guardians.
Yeah.
That's good.
I think Star Chamber Guardian and probably the Lord are the two last threat. But yeah, it's Oxyodon. Hey, it's probably a Wood Elf win at this point.
Yeah, it's looking like it. Lots of spears, and a completely healthy one even.
Yeah.
Very low ammo. But I really liked that. When you get low on ammo, save your ammo. Take off that auto fire. So I assume, you toggle a lot between melee and ranged on your Skirmish Cav. I'm assuming you toggle a decent amount on fire at will with ranged units too?
I'm using toggles for two things: skirmish mode and range unit.
Okay.
Like in the fire at will, I mean. I'm not using the toggle for melee engagement, just because if you hold down the Alt key, every attack is a melee attack, so you don't need to toggle melee mode if you want to charge.
If you hold
So,
down
like, that's-
Alt when you have a Skirmish Cav, it will melee.
It will offer you to charge when you're right-clicking instead of using your range tool.
Ox
And
is dead.
that's quite the time saving when you are skirmishing around with Skirmish Cav and you want to be
Absolutely.
the
I
first
didn't
in
know
melee.
that. That's That's useful. That's a good tip. Thanks for that.
Yeah. If I may say, the alt key is really underrated. It's also super good to do
Wow.
pivots.
Yeah, I definitely do lots of pivot. Oxy actually managed to give Dryka the slip and kill her. So Dryka was
Yes.
kind of mismanaged here in the back. And it looks like Zam might throw away a win here. I
It's
definitely,
sadly looking like it. Like some of the last volleys are misused right now,
yeah, they're being
and the
used on
worrying
this
part is that
routing unit already. Not the best.
if you've lost all of your cavalry, never consider you've win against the lizards because their infantry is gonna be faster than any of your infantry. Skinks are a pain to fight off.
Absolutely. Um, I would say the biggest problem I saw was just the fact that Dryka got so confident. You don't want to chase Oxyotto
Oh yeah,
around when you are a
definitely
footlord.
not.
You're just gonna get kited and killed.
Exactly. And lizard is probably the best faction in the game to scrap back when you've got skinks running around everywhere. It's really easy, like if you have a good understanding on how the battlefield is evolving,
Uh-huh.
it's really easy to punish units that are chasing around. Let's say like that Wood Elf infantry, for example,
Yeah, way over
fighting
here.
in the forest. Yeah, it got. That's one example of don't overchase. It was chasing skinks around, and well, skinks are faster than dryads, so they are not gonna catch back. Especially since it's likely the lizard has some poison next to it, so it's
Yeah.
gonna debuff the speed, and you tend to have unit getting isolated and killed off while you're not getting any value back.
Which you couldn't ask for a worse situation practically right there. Not good.
Yes.
I mean, what could...
It happens to a lot of players. That's a mistake I'm gonna do again. That's a mistake everyone is gonna do again.
Yeah.
It's really easy.
Mm-hmm.
If you trust too much balance of power, especially against lizards, you can consider you've won way too early.
Yeah. Would you say pretty much don't even look at the balance of power? Just fight?
I mean, that would be kind of dishonest because I can't keep myself from picking at it while I'm
Uh-huh.
playing. It's a good, I mean, it can be a good reminder. Like if you are, let's say you have a battle plan, you're starting the battle and you're thinking, okay, with that build, I want to kite. And I want to kite to kill the cavalry of my opponent. Or with that build, I want to rush and I want to compromise the range unit. Well, if you are picking at, like, let's say the opponent has brought something you were not expecting and is, yeah, flipping the battle on his head. At one point, you might be totally lost. Am I losing? Am I winning? I was expecting to kite and I got forced into a fight really early on. Like, if you are picking at the balance of power and you see it's in your favor, unless you're playing a faction that has a really big impact on balance of power, like Beastmen, you have,
Uh-huh.
yeah, a weird thing going on.
Yeah, they
Balance
do.
of power.
Yeah.
It's it can be a good indicator of, oh, maybe there is something I'm missing, like why is balance of power not in my favor? Oh right, he forgot about one of his dinos. Damn, okay, I need to keep some tools around for when he's gonna understand that he mismicroed one of his unit. Or maybe you just didn't check properly what infantry corps he had, and amongst the Saurus unit, a few of those were temple guards, and it's really easy to misjudge that because icon can be pretty similar.
Absolutely.
So don't trust balance of power too much, but if you have time to check it from time to time to understand, oh, does the game think I'm winning or not? It's still something that can be used, right? Don't rely on it, but you can use it.
It's a useful tool. It's just taken with a grain of salt. Got it.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
Basically like skirmish mode. Skirmish mode is not something you're gonna use by default. Like, not on all units, that's for sure.
Uh-huh.
But it's a great tool when you've got a lot of stuff going on and there are some units that you just can't afford to micro.
Yeah, and then let the game micro them for you.
Basically.
So, give me one mistake, just one mistake, in your opinion, that made the Wood Elf player lose that game.
I think it came down to overchasing and ammo conservation. By ammo conservation, I meant that he lost a few important volleys towards the end on
Yeah.
already routing unit, and those volleys are really keys when you've got archers with such high DPS as the Wood Elf one. And overchasing was getting your Draika killed because you chased Oxyot all around. Whereas if you kept Draika in the middle of your archer formation, because the Wood Elf player could have understood that he was in a winning situation and could not chase a skink build, then keep your army cohesive in a good defensive formation.
Mm-hmm.
That's something he did partially. Like I wanted to praise that. He did really well with his spear, like maintaining protection around his archers,
Yeah.
but he got overconfident with his Dryads and
Yeah.
starting running a new unit down everywhere.
Yeah.
And
He
that
really
was
thought,
unfortunate.
hey, the lizardmen are breaking everywhere. I'm just gonna push him off the battlefield, and he's done. And
Exactly.
I think Draika caught Oxyotl at some point in the battle, which is why his health got so low. And that is really why he was thinking, I like to call it Lord Greed. I say, up, you've gotten Lord Greedy, where you take, a sizable chunk of your army, and you just focus that Lord. And a lot of the times, it leads to something like that, where you overchase because you're just, they call it, like when people are summiting mountains, they get summit fever, even though it's way too late in the day, the sun's setting, they shouldn't be up on the mountain, but they're like, I'm right next to the top, I'm gonna mount it, I'm gonna get to the top. And that's kind of the same thing. They're like, he's so close to being dead, he's right
Yeah.
there, he's right there. And if
I mean,
he had just
on
left
a
them,
lord like that, the only HP that's gonna matter is the last one.
yeah,
If you can't get the last one and you can't kill the lord, then most of the effort you've put in trying to get him low is not gonna pay back.
it doesn't
Like
matter.
that's especially true against units such as Bastilled and Solar Engine.
Mm-hmm.
It's really easy to understand what you've done wrong if at the end of the battle you've lost barely and you see that those Solar Engine are really low. Well, you went for a kill on them where you were not sure if you could kill it or not, or you misjudged the situation. You managed to save them, and well, all of that time you spent trying to kill models on unit you couldn't kill, you've lost precious DPS on other units that could have
Yeah.
forced the Solar Engine into weaker situations.
Yeah, so basically, if that unit is a ranged unit of some power, especially a single entity, if you can't kill it or drive it off the battlefield, you've wasted your time. Because a ranged unit, a single entity ranged unit, has all of its fighting potential, even though it has almost no HP, because it's at
Yes.
range. And it's going to be just as devastating at 7 HP as it is at 7,000.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good advice. That makes a lot of sense. All right, next we've got Chaos versus Skaven. Now, I was actually doing this matchup with another streamer friend of mine. Now, it seems to us, we were talking, is Chaos a big counter versus Skaven?
Mm, I honestly don't play that often against Skaven or Archaeos, but
Uh-huh.
I would put it if it's somewhere like I don't think any faction counters the other. It should be close to 50-50. I would put it slightly Skaven favored.
Skaven favored. Okay.
Yeah, because well, chaos units are really good targets for globes and poison unit, and
Mm.
you've got enough tools as Skaven to deal with chaos. The main worrying part for chaos right now, well, when facing chaos, is will I be able to have enough tools to kill Sigvolt in the late game? And like,
Yeah.
will the battlefield have evolved to a situation where, yes, I've won the battle, but I've only got units that can't kill Sigvold anymore, and I'm just gonna lose in a long, long fight against him?
Yeah, he's so good. Did he bring Sigvald? I bet he did. Oh,
I think I saw
Archaon.
Archaon. Yes,
Archaon.
Archaon is a solid pick, I think. Fire magic is really painful to face when you're playing Skaven.
Yeah, that leadership debuff. Brutal. He's got 2 hounds, 3 horsemen, 2 horse masters. We've got a front line of Chaos Marauders, Forsaken, and I really like Forsaken in this matchup. Fast, hits super duper hard.
Yes.
They can even kill like rat ogres and things. Chaos Spawn, do some
I think
good
going
work.
more elite than Forsaken is a mistake, just because the globes are gonna damage your unit
Yeah,
like anyway, so might not go for the most elite stuff. Swarming tend to be one of the best way to kill Skaven.
there you go. And let's look at the Skaven Army. Of course, we've just got Skaven slaves up here in the front. We've got some clan rats with shields. Not sure you even need the shields, particularly against chaos. Poisoned wind globes, like Saphir was saying. The globes are just going to devastate you. He's got 4 things of globes. He's also got a natty buboes. This is quite a bit arranged, but he's got a lot protecting it too. He's got 2
Yes.
hell pits.
I'm still slightly worried. The single entity power is here, but I don't think he has enough infantry chaff to protect all of that range. Just because the globes are also going to do some friendly fire, and the infantry is going to take damage in melee. Besides, like you said, Burning Heads do have really big leadership debuffs,
Yeah. Big.
and they could be like fear or terror causing unit in the enemy army. And yeah, you're not gonna be able to give enough time for your range unit to fire. Like it's sometimes better to bring 3 short range units that will expend 80% of their ammo than 5 that will expend 20%.
Yes, got it. Yeah, that makes sense. So what would you cut here? I'm thinking I would probably cut one of the hell pits and bring just some more chaff.
I don't know. I think the issue also was that you're limited to 20 slots, right? So I think Skaven is really close to 20 stack right now.
Yeah, that's
So
true. That's true.
cutting one really expensive unit might not be that interesting because you're gonna have a lot of spare money for one slot.
For one slot. Yeah, then you just bring another hell pit.
And so you bring the outfit back. No, I think maybe you cut like going that many globes could work in a rush against the box because the box won't disrupt their formation and chase around your globes too much. But when you are the one taking a rush, you need to think, unless you've got elite infantry holding your front line, your front line and your chaff will get compromised. So how many of my unit can I protect when my front line will get compromised? And I think right now he has just too many globes. So maybe cut one of the globes to get some hound unit that can be really nice to get some cheeky damage on an aware unit or rear charges.
There you go. Okay. That makes
But I'm not a
sense
Skaven
to
expert,
me.
so
No worries.
it's merely like observations, not Skaven advice.
We're more so focused. I tend to draw in the newer players. That's kind of what the stream's all about. Trying to expand the multiplayer community. Just give a good resource for just, some basics. So I'm sure a player of your caliber, that all made sense to me. And I'm no slouch at this game at this point either. So I like it.
Perfect.
I like it.
Perfect. And
I like the chaos build. I like the wide skirmish.
Yes.
It's just gonna try and
the
hound them all
chaos
over.
player seems more experienced than the Skaven one. When you're looking at at least the Skaven is moving forward. He's not waiting. But when you're looking at minimap, you already see that the chaos player has a plan. He's already surrounded the Skaven army, and he has spread his unit wide enough to make sure that they won't get all killed by one globe unit. Although one thing I'm not really liking right now, if you can pause, I think having both of the Manticore on the same flank is not that useful.
All right,
here. Manticores in that matchup will be super nice at 2 things. Well, 3 things. Third one being, they are good single entity duelists. But I think against the Skaven that's gonna box up, quote unquote, you want to use them to get some disruption on one, the range unit, and 2, get some terror-causing factor, like rear charges on the main infantry.
Okay.
And like since terror is like AoE-esque, you don't want them both on the same flank. If you can have like there is nothing this Skaven will do to your air unit if they are packed or not packed. So better to have each of them on one flank and go down on this Skaven army at the same time, rather than on the same flank where their terror potential is wasted.
So would you use them maybe like right when this flank is coming in, when it closes in? Would you come in on the back, dive on a globe, and then charge forward and terror route the front,
Yeah.
and then go back
What
on?
you could do would be diving on a globe
Uh-huh.
and then running straight into this Skaven slave to make sure like don't waste time when you're doing that because the Ratogers are here to Ratogers and Elpit are here to rampage
Yeah.
those manticores of yours. But you are the faster unit and you have the higher mass and you can pull through your own infantry faster than well you have better mass than the Ratogers, so you will be able to pull through your own infantry faster than they will. And you are faster than the Helpit, so you should be able to take off before they reach you.
Got it.
Besides, it's also going to be a lot of micro on this Skaven player, and
Yeah.
if your rush is made properly, then you don't have to do all of your attack orders on your infantry and all of that stuff because you've already planned for it. You've already anticipated that your unit are, like let's say you've got a 30 speed unit, you've got 45 one, a 70, I don't know. You've already anticipated that they should make contact all at the same time. So it's also Skaven player to react to what your army is doing.
That makes sense. Absolutely, that makes sense. I like you dive in, you terror route at the front. Honestly, a lot of the time when I'm playing, I'll just dive in and I'll just stay here. I've never really thought of you dive in, disrupt them, move forward, terror route them, get back in the sky, and then maybe go on a different one and just kind of repeat. Just do another globe, another little terror route. Their whole front line's going to be broken. Then your infantry's on top of the globes that you had just disrupted.
Yes.
And
What you want is to make sure the globe get minimal value as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically same way you would face, let's say, miners of the like miners with blasting charges. It's a cheap unit with really high burst damage potential on your infantry. So as much as you can, you want to disrupt them and make sure you're saving, you're earning time for your infantry to push through the first line of defense and get to those really damage dealing units. So a good example would be, I see sometimes players go for that, bring really cheap light cav, and when they're rushing Dawi, they're gonna maybe charge them head on into miners. They're not gonna do damage to the miners, but they're gonna be too fast for the blasting charges to go off, and they're gonna save enough time for the infantry to make contact, and they're gonna pull back then when the infantry is engaging against the miners.
Okay, yeah, I get what you're saying. Just to
But
disrupt that damage
yeah.
potential. Okay.
But when you don't want to get caught off guard in the Skaven backline, so be worried about what has enough mass to stop you when you're trying to pull that off. Like if there was no Ratogers of Elpit, well, your Manticore could be swimming in those globes, right?
Swimming
It
in the
doesn't have any.
globes.
Yeah, get a good swim in the globe. Nothing is gonna disrupt you and stop you from killing them. But since there is
good.
punishing tools for this Skaven really like close by, just don't linger too much.
Don't
Get
linger.
on the
Don't
move.
stay too long. Don't
Yeah.
don't ruin your welcome, folks. Alrighty. Listen to Saf. Put your Manticore somewhere else, dude. God, he didn't hear you. I'm really disappointed.
Too bad it's a replay.
Look at that.
Yeah, that's a juicy
Great
burning
burning
head.
head. Rolling through. Poison Wind Globes are super armored, which honestly I learned just a little while ago. I didn't know they had 100 army. That's crazy. But
Yeah.
this front line is already gone. One globe is literally open.
And see, right now the Ratogers they have to answer the push. So now, what would protect the globes if both of the Manticores dive on each flank?
Perfect. Yeah. And the other one, that makes a lot of sense. It should just be over here.
Yeah, like Skaven just doesn't have enough tools to deal with two single entities
These
flying
Cav
around, creating
coming in.
terror. At least he's not packing them on the same unit, so he recognizes that he must
Separate
target
them that
different
much
unit
at
and
least, yeah.
like right now, pull off from the second one.
Yeah, this
You
one,
don't want to
absolutely.
fight it.
A
You
hell
don't want to
pit.
fight a hell pit.
Nuh-uh. The Skaven did a good job, though, enraging this one already. I think just
Yes.
the Poison Wind Globes, I think, actually did that themselves.
Yeah. I really like the fact that the Chaos player has positioned his Skirmish Cav behind the Skaven box. That's the only place the routing Skaven infantry will go.
And they're all just
So
dying. They're running into them and
yes.
just dying
So
immediately.
when you've routed a unit with their like a globe or something like that, it's gonna run straight into your light cav. You won't even have to do any efforts to chase it around. And that's way better.
This poor Exalted Hero got destroyed by that hell pit.
Yes. Although what's slightly worrying is that the left flank of the Chaos forces have collapsed, and there are one or two globes that could be saved on that flank.
Yeah.
And now what I'm really looking forward to is the Chaos player gonna blob up with his infantry that's on the right wing when he's gonna fall back on the left wing, or is he gonna be wise enough to spread around his infantry and not blob, because those poisoned wind can be really hurtful and push that game back. Right now it would be in Chaos favor. You need to focus down the single entities with your skirmish cav, like the big L pits,
Yeah, it does
and you
seem
need
like
to
he's
not
doing
blob
that.
up.
At least on this one.
Yes.
I
Yes,
think
that's
I
a fine
can,
job killing a L pit.
I can tell over here basically that these units seem to have been mistimed. They have all their HP, and they don't seem to have. They weren't in this initial battle, which is partly one of the reasons why all of these units are running away.
And I'm a bit worried that those two infantry units, he's just gonna right-click them in the main infantry engagement, and they're gonna blow up for the poison wind.
Just over here, yeah.
Yes, that would be my guess.
I could see it happening. Let's hope it doesn't. Hopefully he
Let's hope
kills
it
this
doesn't.
guy with the Skirmish Cav, which is exactly what he should do. These rat ogres are angry, and
Yes, they are.
they're fighting the Manticore. Is that right? Is that who you guys are fighting? It's kind of hard to tell. They're all kind of around. Looks like it. I think even though the Manticore is enraged, it might do some really good work against them. That was a bummer. Poor Exalted Hero. Alright. This permanent head's just going forever. Look at it go.
Yes, they have really long range.
Yeah.
They're gonna walk around for a long time.
Like you were saying, these poison globes are back on, firing into these skirmish cav, routing them off.
Yeah, and you need his skirmish cav right now to target the L pit. One of the L pit is isolated, so get all of your skirmish cav in there and focus it down. He's doing it a fine job right now.
Yeah.
Most of his skirmish cav is targeting that L pit. That's good.
And horsemen do quite a bit of DPS. Horse masters do even more, of course.
Well, he also needs to put out Archeon right now.
Yeah, he's stuck in there with a hell pit and plague monks.
Yeah, there is an annoying summon, and Archeon has the mass of a cav unit, so it can be tricky to pull him out. Besides maintaining Archeon there, he's gonna just... Oh, he's got heal on the L pit. Maintaining
nice.
Archeon there, he's gonna be... Like, he's not doing anything of value for you right now, so... It kind of it may sound a bit obvious, but try to always look for only good engagement, or engagements where you know you're gonna have a positive outcome over your opponent. Archeon fighting there was not a positive outcome. Sure, he was gonna kill some rats around and maybe get one or two swing on the L pit, but he's trying to kill your Archeon here. Oh, wow, and he's really blobbing up now for the poison winds.
Up, yeah, he blobbed up so much. Exactly what you were worried about happened.
Yeah, and he has mobility advantage right now.
Yeah,
like those globes were unprotected. He was trying to kill Archeon, right? So he could not. He was facing with, like, okay, let's say at that time, rather than sending your skirmish cav in melee to support Archeon, you went for the poison globes.
Boom.
put yourself in the opponent's position. He only has one tool that can deal with both Archeon and the Skirmish Cav, and that is his Help It.
Yep.
His infantry won't be able to do that. So if you're sending every one of your unit on the same fight, that's perfect for him. That's what he wants. His Help It is going to be able to do both at the same time because it's supported by chaff and range fire.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you're sending Skirmish Cav on the Poisoned Wind, then he's faced with a lose-lose situation. Either he keeps on trying to kill Archeon and he might not succeed, right? Like we mentioned, last HP is the most important one. And then you are getting, you're killing his best tool to kill off all of your chaff that's still alive. Or he has to pull out to protect that chaff, and then Archeon, which was in a big bad situation, is now free to leave the fight or route off with a good spell.
That makes sense. That's really good. This is good stuff, you guys. You better be listening in. This is good stuff. Oh no. Steam, don't cover my play button. Get out of here. Thank you. He only has one unit. So split up the things that one unit can kill, route off his other tool, and then you're left with victory, basically, boys.
Yes.
That's good, though. He did get to it eventually. He did put some pressure on these Poison Winds, which did cause that Help Hit to disengage, and then Archeon was able to go over here.
In those really clutch and tense late game situation where both of the army are still like having some good tools and they're scrapping around, what's really going to make a difference, like outside of experience, is acknowledging, alright, so what is my opponent trying to do? What am I trying to do? And what are my units engaged in bad situations? And if you can, why not just pull them out of engagement if they are faster? You don't need to remain in bad engagements.
It takes
only do that if it's giving you something in exchange. Don't do bad trades, basically.
Yeah, it takes a while, definitely, to realize, like, just run away. You can just run away. It's okay. You don't always have to fight. Run away. Don't worry about that. I really have to mention, though, I think that it was very, very good idea from the Chaos player. Despite the fact that this Help Hit healed, it's been routing this entire time. He refused to let it come back, and
that's a really good play on his end.
It's really big.
Just toggle off fire at will, and it's the perfect play.
Yeah, exactly. He used a lot of ammo, so much so like this. It healed about half of its HP, and he could have routed it off without using ammo.
Losing ammo, and that ammo might prove really useful against the other Help It later.
Exactly. He does seem like he's got the advantage. Lots of stuff's routing off. Scroll is really
I should
hurt.
mention, when it's come to chasing around big monster like that one, if you can afford it, don't send a unit too low HP chasing it around, just because it might terror out and allow the monster to come back. That unit, for example, will never terror out because it's too high on HP and won't get the enough leadership debuff to route, right? But if he, let's say, sent a lower HP, like a unit that still had like a third of its HP, a Skirmish Cav one, terror out can still happen.
Even though it's routing, it can still terror route you?
Yes.
Okay, that's really good advice too. Some really weird technicalities that Saphir is telling us about, you guys. You got a terror monster,
also
high
the
HP.
Mortis engine unit will still use his Mortis effect while you're chasing it around.
It's still killing you while it's running away.
Yes.
Wow.
Especially important when you're chasing around the Fae, because most of the times the only unit able to catch up with the Fae are Skirmish Cav, because she's just that fast.
She's very
So when
fast.
you routed her away, don't send the half HP Skirmish Cav unit to escort her off the map, because it's likely she's gonna kill it while on her way there, if it's a big map.
That's I didn't even think about that at any point. I didn't know the terror routing thing. I think I knew the Mortis engine thing, but like I've never really put it into practice or anything. He's using his Skirmish Cav on that Help Hit again. He's got Archeon just killing Skrull.
Yes.
I like the play. I think it's fine that Archeon's there. The Help Hit's gonna die.
It is. That's a good play right now.
Yeah, and it looks like that's
Like
gonna end the game.
Chaos did well.
There you go.
He acknowledged, well, except for his few blobbing, he acknowledged what was really important: chasing around the outing hill pit,
Yep.
getting some disruption, not blobbing up his infantry. Skirmish Cav was a blunder, but blunder happened every time.
Yeah, right. Everybody makes blunders. He came out with the
Yes.
win. I think he realized it was a blunder because he stopped blobbing
Yes.
pretty quickly. He went in, blobbed, saw all of his units were dying, and went, "Wait a second, I'm gonna
Maybe
pull
what he
that out."
tried to achieve was to charge and use all of that cav mass to pull out Archeon, because Archeon was in the middle of a lot of infantry.
Yeah, he
So
was getting
maybe he was
pretty hurt.
trying to push around the infantry models to get a way out for Archeon. But that did not succeed. Archeon was still stuck in it, and he just got a lot of damage on his skirmish cav.
Yeah, the thing that did succeed was when he did what you suggested, which was go after the other juicy target of the Poison
Yes.
Wind Globes. It forced a reaction from that Hell Pit from the Skaven player, and that's kind of what you're doing. You're trying to make a move where your opponent, if they don't react, they're gonna lose the game. Basically, they're gonna lose something very important, and then use that to predict your next action. You go, okay, I'm going to go here. They're either going to stop me, in which case I'll run away, I'll do whatever it is, which frees up my unit, or they're not going to stop me, which sets me up for a later gameplay. I have all this ammo, they can't deal with me. Either way, the Skaven loses in that, right? They either lose Archaon or
Yes.
they lose their Hell Pit later down the road.
Yes. You need, when you're rushing and the situation exploded and everyone is fighting everywhere on the battlefield, just try to understand which faction has the momentum, and do you need is it really still in your best interest to, to keep on trying to chase and engage everywhere. It might be true in some situations, just because you don't want the opponent to have a fighting chance, like to damage you back or anything, and you don't want to give him any break. But sometimes when you're doing a rush build, you'll have a lot of skirmish cav, you'll have a lot of fast unit, and once the box is broken, you don't need to hurry on everything when you've done enough routing. You can, like, tempo for a bit and punish every unit that got strayed away from the main army.
There you go. It makes sense. I'm really enjoying this. I really appreciate you coming on. You got a lot of good stuff to say, my friend.
My pleasure.
Okay, so we have a Beastmen mirror matchup, and I have been given several more replays while we've been discussing here, so we've got plenty of content. But again, just tell me. I know it's late, like I said. We've got.
I think I still have one or two in me before I'm going to bed.
Okay, so this one and then the Bretonnia one? How does that sound?
Perfect.
Okay, excellent.
That sounds good to me.
Excellent. So we've got these Chaos Warhounds. They all have poison, it looks like, except for one. One doesn't. He probably just couldn't afford that poison. Who knows? Torox, a Bray Shaman of the Wild, a Jabberslythe, and we've got the Gorgon. I know this build from Strat, says Contende. Yeah, Strat Game sent me this, indeed. My goodness. What was that? Bray Shaman of the Wild. Is it on a chariot? It's got to be. I mean, it's just got to be, right? Yeah, of course it is.
Yes.
All right, and then we had 3 Centaurs with throwing axes. 4 actually. 1, 2, 3, 4 Centaurs with throwing axes. And our Beastman opponent is going with a Jabberslythe, a Gorgon, and Torox as well. But instead of the dogs and throwing axes, we've got Chaos Spawn, Ungor Spearman herds, and we've got a secret little hidden double Tuskgore. Wait, no. Tuskgore chariots, Wargore on a chariot, I'm sure. Let's see.
Oh wow.
He's doing a little too many chariots.
Oh wow. So
He's
many
got
chariots.
2 Tuskgores and a Bray Shaman and a Wargore. So
Oh damn, it's triggering my PTSD.
not exactly a tournament legal build, but a build allowed on quick battle and just regular multiplayer anyways and whatnot. Okay. Let's see. Hopefully, I mean, I'm rooting for the tournament legal build, of course. That's what we're rooting for.
Obviously.
Let's see how it goes down. Contender just says it's mobility, single entities, and traderkin support. It's really good. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
A contender is right. In that matchup, the player with the most mobility will...
Flock
that's
of
a flock
Doom,
of Doom.
though. Big
I was
flock
worried
of
a bit
Doom.
that it was a traderkin.
Yeah, me too. That's what I was worried about. I was like, oh no, the slow coming in, lots of damage, but it was just a flock of Doom. Which, he has a Brace Shame and a Beast. I definitely would prefer the Brace Shame in a Wild.
Yes. Well, Beast can be nice for Manticore summon, but I'm not sure. I think in the mirror matchup, traderkin is just too good.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
the mobility advantage is gonna win you the game, so better get the spell that's gonna kill most of the enemy mobility.
Yep, slow him down, do lots of damage. Immediately, we're both like, if that had been Traderkin, that would have been a problem.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of damage coming out of these chariots, though.
Oof. The Beastman, the yellow Beastman Lord is in a really bad situation right now.
Yeah, look at that.
That could be game ending if
Torok's getting
the
bullied by
Beastman
the
punished
chariots, the Jabberslythe.
Yeah. Right now, okay. If the red Beastman brings all of his chariot on Torox, that's end of the game right now. Just because that's going to be too much mass for Torox to pull out, and once the brace, like his brass body ability is going to run out, he's going to die. But thankfully, he has enough mass and good animation, so he managed to get out.
And I don't think the red player noticed quite in time.
Yeah.
I think he expected those 3 units to really be able to do it for him.
Brass body is a really good tool to bait out your opponent.
He's just kiting them with these Centaurs really nicely, throwing in lots of throwing axes. Routing off those Ungors.
I think the red Beastman brought the chariots because he knew the chariots were good, but he's not really aware of how to best use them.
Yeah. He's just heard they're broken and he's like, I'll bring the broken unit.
I'll bring the broken unit. That should give me a win, right?
I should win, exactly. There we go, though. That's what you should have done on Torox.
Yeah.
But it was a little
Although
late.
he's still moving them around, he's not leaving them in melee.
He's not letting them use that charge bonus and do their damage.
Yeah. I think the yellow player is gonna win. Not especially because the situation is favoring him that much, but he's just playing way better right now.
He's playing better. He just seems the more experienced player.
Yeah. Like, the blob also is gonna be punished by traderkins and stuff.
He did so much damage on that Gorgon for the moment he put his chariots on, and then he just left.
Yep.
That was a bummer. Torox is good HP, but everything else is pretty low.
I think it's one of the situations where the red player just panicked because there were a lot of units everywhere running around, and he didn't trusted enough his unit to deal damage, and he was always trying to get charges everywhere, not just sticking enough to fights to use those big charge bonuses.
Looks like he just lost, though, his Gorgon? The Gorgon goes down. Torox is just about dead from the green player as well. The red player's kind of just doing what we've suggested, which was, you just got to put your units into the fight and leave them there.
Yes. It leaves them enough in melee for them to fight well and to perform.
I'm not sure he even knew he should do that, or if he was just kind of almost forced to do that from the pressure from the green player.
Yeah. Well, I think at one point the yellow player stopped trying to move around, and the yellow player was clearly dictating how the game was going, right? And at one point he just stopped like moving. Like his Skirmish Cav was fine, right? Skirmish Cav was doing damage,
Yep.
but Hound's not being proactive, and single entities like remaining in bad engagement.
It's kind of like,
Probably like, made the life of the red player easier.
yeah, it's kind of like that Wood Elf game that we saw earlier. He probably got a little overconfident. He saw he was winning the game, and he
Yes,
stopped applying that pressure. He just,
we, we might be in a classic balance of power bait where
yeah,
he checked balance of
uh-huh.
power, so he was really ahead and thought,
Oh, I got
no one
this.
can lose right now. Yeah,
And
an
suddenly the
AI would
Gorgon and
win
the
with that army.
Jabberslight died. Suddenly they died. But here we go. Now he's using his mobility again. He's getting back to that
Yes,
whole.
and he has a lot of ammo left on some of those
He does.
units.
He's
Well,
got quite a
on
bit
one
on
most.
this one. But that's okay. I mean, that's good. He's still got ammo left on pretty much all of them. That Wargore's going down, it looks like. At least it's probably going to rout. No, come on. You're so... There it is. I'm like, you're so low. Oh, is it going to... Yes, it's dead. That's pretty big. The red player's kind of just running around. He's running back. He's running this way. He's not sure what to fight. What would you say?
Yeah.
What should you do in this situation when everything is kiting you? When you've got all these different units with ammo everywhere, you're surrounded by mobility, you're a little bit slower, maybe you're a little inexperienced. What the heck should you do?
That's the issue here. You are right now in a really bad situation because of the mistakes you did earlier. Maybe it's something due to your build that provoked that situation, or it's a play you did. But once you're in that situation where every one of your units is way slower than the enemy mobility, the enemy still has ammo, you don't have any, and he can run around and shoot at you. According to tournament rule, you can't go in forest and forest camp to protect you from those ranged tools.
Right.
So sadly, you just have to endure. And the best way to endure is not to chase around unit, but if you've got units that it doesn't want to target, leave them be, stay around those and let them rest. And the units he wants to target, so your big monsters right now, make sure you're trying to dodge as much as possible the enemy fire.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Just kind of stand around here somewhere. Whoever he doesn't want to kill, you just leave him. And then you've got
Yes,
Torox
let
with
them rest.
Jabberslythe, and you just... No, dodge, no. You can't.
Exactly. Or if you can, you could try, like, let's say for example right now he has a spearman, like it's not gonna impact much the game, right? But he can try to accompany that spearman to the edge of the map, and maybe his opponent will do a micro mistake and let the spearman rally. I think with a hand unit he should be fine, but still that's a play you can go for.
Got it. Try and bait out their micro mistakes. There you go. I love it. Alright, yeah. And when you're chasing, it's really hard to dodge when you're chasing. You're going right at them. They're just going to throw all of their fire right in your face.
Yes, it is.
I like that Torox is routing. I mean, should you chase him at this point? I would think so.
Yeah. That's your ticket here. Chase the Torok of the map, and maybe you have enough single entity power to kill it, to kill the rest of the enemy army.
Looks like he's got, let's see, 2 and 8 shots. So he's got 10 Centaur volleys total. 8 of them, though, are on just one, which you'd rather have 8 on one than 3 on each. There we go. Torox is gone. Not quite yet, but you know he's not coming back. There's no way. He's got no HP, and he's got all that stuff behind him. Okay, good. That was a good decision. He's coming in with his... Now, I'm thinking I'd probably target either the Jabberslythe, but I would probably target this Bray Shaman, right? Kill it. It's low HP. It's going to bring things in your favor. What would you say about that? Who would you try to kill if you're the green player? Who would you kill?
Well, it's an annoying situation because the mage might have enough magic for a few Flock of Doom that would kill a blob, but the Jabberslythe is gonna be the most damage dealing and the last terror causing monster he has.
Okay.
And terror will be a big issue for you because you've got a low leadership hounds and you've got Skirmish Cav that's at one point gonna have to fight in melee. So yeah, the Slice is gonna be the first unit to probably get off the battlefield.
Okay.
But I don't think stat-wise he has enough killing power to get all of those units off the battlefield.
Yeah, certainly
Maybe
not with
route
his
them.
ranged power.
Maybe route them, but I don't see how he's gonna kill Torox with Brass Body.
Right, though, he's got two. Well, he's got 4 Centaurs with throwing axes. They're all pretty healthy, and then he's just got 2 hounds. So you're saying kill the Jabberslythe. He's got enough ammo to do that, certainly.
Probably, or at least bring him low enough for a big charge, like from all sides, to route him off the map.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Probably you can ignore the shaman and just end the shaman in melee, like just route him off the map. The issue is just Dogs can probably kill all of those units in melee, and he
Yeah,
doesn't
by
have
himself.
enough more ammo to route everything.
Yeah, he's so healthy. Let's see what he does. Oh, he caught him. Does he get away, though, still? Good. What's he throwing him at? Now I'm just curious. It's like, are you going for the Jabberslythe? What are you going for? Oh, no.
Well, I can see the idea of I'm a bit scared of magic killing my blob of units, and maybe I can route him up. The Jabberslythe is a bit out of position, but he's gonna reposition really fast.
Yeah. He's moving back in.
Oh, that's a wasted spell.
Wiston's wild
think
form
the-
going down for no reason, yeah. Got a Centaur off, though.
Yeah.
He knows the Jabberslythe is the problem. Doing some dodging, though. The red player was definitely, he came in, then he dodged, turned around.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, well, okay, that player is doing a mistake by getting close to the edge of the map, because if his unit are getting routing here, he would lose the game.
They're just gonna leave, yeah.
Like, if you were to give those 3 units to the AI and put it in the middle of the map, I don't think the AI would lose, just because of the melee prowess of the unit and just too many HP left to kill. Getting close to the edge of the map is offering an opportunity for the opponent to just route your unit off.
Here it goes. There's one route.
Yeah.
There's another. But can he do anything about Torox? We will find out. Good job. The green player definitely has been playing better.
He's crapping well. He's crapping really well right now.
He's done.
Okay, right now he should split the 2 caviars chasing the Jabberslythe to chase the shaman.
Looks like the shaman's gone at least anyways.
Yeah.
There we go. The ammo.
He still has some ammo. Maybe he can poke around Torox and get some damage in.
Yeah, maybe he might be able to get enough. This is so hard. Who's gonna come out? Who's gonna come out?
I would still bet on the red player.
The
just
red player?
because Torox.
There's no way this Jabberslythe's gonna route. It's got 23 HP. Yeah. There's no way. Not route.
It's not
rally.
gonna rally right now.
He's leaving.
It's not gonna rally.
Yeah, I wouldn't even bother. You can just tell. It's so low HP. There's just...
Yeah.
I think he needs to throw him at Torox. Where you going? He's really worried about that Jabberslythe.
Oh, that's a wasted ability.
Brass body. Coming in.
Yeah, he used his AoE ability just before when nothing was stacked upon him.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yep. Alright, now I think the yellow player might have a shot.
Yeah.
Just because he still has some AP fire.
I would think
but he needs to wait out the brass body.
I was going to say, you should probably not be throwing in your axes when brass body is on.
Yes.
Might as well just wait.
At least he's doing a fine job cycle charging. And one of the big advantages right now is that his Cav units have perfect vigor. Well, basically perfect vigor, whereas Torox probably doesn't. Yeah, Torox is exhausted.
Yeah, they're all fresh.
So at least fight-wise, they're gonna perform better than they would at the beginning of the battle against Torox.
Big damage on that
Yeah,
volley.
and now is the perfect time. I think he noticed the brass body was up. And now he's waiting it out.
Big damage.
Damn, that was a close game.
This is really close.
Yeah, it's on favor of yellow right now.
Yeah, I think so. I agree. He's gonna get him. He just has to route him. There he goes. Good charges. Really good
Well
charges.
done. Nice scrapping. Definitely one not easy.
Oh my goodness. Oh
Oh
no.
damn.
Oh
Can you
no.
die already, Torox?
Can you get him?
Oh please, please.
Oh, this is so
Ouch.
there it is. There it is. Oh
Ah,
wow.
nice.
Wow, that was
Well deserved victory.
Yeah, I agree. He did deserve that victory. He made a few pretty big mistakes, but he definitely he deserved it. He deserved it. He played better. 14, 15, 14, and
Scott Game is a good player.
19 practically. Dang. Yeah, honestly, I don't know who that is. I'm not familiar, but
I've
contending.
seen the name around.
It's
He
familiar.
played in a few tournaments.
Elfin.
He's an experienced player.
And I definitely think Elfin just kind of had the mouth breather build. He could have just blobbed his guys up and just smashed stuff. Would have had it, but he didn't. Comrade Omega Borelli, hello again. How's it going? Strat is the terror of the 3 a.m. Anticity ladder. That's pretty funny. Any tips on how to use monster infantry? Got like 4 units and don't know the way to use them. Well, we are currently on with an extremely talented player. We are going to analyze a Bretonnia game right now because his main's Bretonnia, and then he's going to be checking out. But afterwards, I would be more than happy to answer specific questions. Right now, while we have our French friend here, it's really late over there, so we're going to just do what he came to do. And we'll see if one of your questions maybe gets answered while we're watching this replay. Hopefully. But again, if you still have questions afterwards, I'll be more than happy to answer those after we let Saphir here go. Because again, it's late. It's late in Europe. It's midnight, I believe now.
It's 1 a.m. right
It's
now.
1. Oh, it's 1. What am I doing? What am I thinking? It's 1. Okay. All right. So first thing first, Harpies diving in onto Mounted Yeoman immediately.
Oh wow, that's a really fortunate dodge of the Mounted Yeoman volley. Nothing hit and everything is going into the sky.
Nothing. Yeah, it's all just pretty though. Pretty.
Yeah, that's really pretty. What a nice way to celebrate the beginning of the battle.
Exactly. Some fireworks, basically, right?
Box arrow fireworks.
Okay.
You
So
like
we've
to
got
see it.
Dark Riders with crossbows. We've got Marathi double Manticore. Well, Master. Marathi Master Manticore is really what we've got. Actually, no, we have double Manticore and Master. That's what we've got. My goodness. Dark Riders, Dread Spears. 5 of them? Yeah, 5 Dreadies. Dark Riders. More Dark Riders. I mean, I like the build. The build makes sense from the Dark Elves. The Mounted Yeoman here on top of the hill. Unfortunate that the Harpies are right there. And then unfortunate they just dodged everything. Lifecaster with Louis. Yes, indeed. The Paladin in the sky. Peasant mobs, 5 of them, of course. Peasant bowmans, 2 Pox, 2 Nox. I'm funny. Okay, Knights of the Lionhearted. RORs. And 2 questing knights in our lance formation. Okay, what do you think of the build? You're the Bretonian man. What do you think?
You want to analyze that Bretonnian build?
Yeah.
Well, it's decent, right?
Okay.
I'm not a big fan of Luan in that matchup. Well, if we're going strictly meta, sadly, Faye is just overperforming every time, so
Yeah.
not many reason why you should not go for Faye. The Cav department is good. I like the fact that he brought only 2 Skirmish Cav, but he still brought a few. They are a decent tool against a Dark Elf that will gonna kite you. Yeah, because you have that 360 arc of fire that's really nice against the low armored Dark Rider with a crossbow.
Okay.
What I'm less a fan of is the positioning of his army. And by that I meant how he deployed his archers. I think archer unit against faction with wind spells, you want to spread them as much as possible. And I
Uh-huh.
don't mean like necessarily have them apart from one another, but try to form a quote unquote spaghetti line with your
Yeah.
archers. Like
Yeah.
right click and get
Long
them as a
lines.
long position as you can, because it's
Absolutely.
gonna give you more time to dodge out burning heads, for example. Other than that, well, there is the elephant in the room that is Cav is in the lens formation. That's not an effective formation, sadly. So
It's so sad. That's so sad.
yeah, it has one use though, and that's pulling through one of the infantry unit. But there is so many things that's gonna go into that being a successful result that you can't control. Like it's super situational. The enemy infantry needs to be really thin formation, low mass. Like you're never gonna do that against Chaos Warrior, and even still, it's not gonna be as efficient as a frontal charge with a wider spread cavalry.
Got it.
But it's mostly deployment is really fine, honestly.
Yeah, and
Both builds are looking competitive enough.
he deployed also, like, I kind of don't like the fact that he's just below the hill right here.
Yes.
I
Yes.
I
Well,
would say,
that's a quick battle map. Don't think he has much choice.
yeah. I hate this map.
Yes,
Definitely.
it's not a really fun one to play on.
I forget what it's called right now, but ugh. He could have just, gone maybe to the side a little bit. I don't know. Definitely the it's the worst of all. This is the worst one, yeah. It's the worst
Yeah,
one.
it's a really bad one.
Okay. Let's watch and see what they do then, shall we? Dun 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 dun.
Oh, I need to pull out those harpies.
Those
As
harpies.
up.
Yeah. Louis
Oh
getting
wait.
in there.
Oh wait, the damsel is going in.
Everyone's
Oh
just
damn.
piling in. We have a
Oh
huge
damn, that's
fight.
pretty bad. He's gonna lose his magic right here.
No.
Oh yeah, that's the end of the magic.
That's brutal for the Bretonnian player. I liked that
No,
from
I'm
the
not sure
Dark
he's
Elf
probably
player.
gonna recover right now because some. Oh well. Cav is being really passive right now. Once
Mm-hmm.
the Soul Stealer is out, you have no reason for your cavalry to not engage and use their just superb stat to win you the battle.
Yeah. Makes sense. Manticore being forgotten about. Paladin going in and dumpstering
Yeah,
that.
Paladin will win that fight easily.
The damsel did recover.
Nice.
Do you think
Luan is getting hit pretty badly in the sky, but there is archers. But archers are not supporting Luan right now.
No, they're not.
That's
They're
pretty bad.
firing in on dread spears and things with shields.
Yes. I think the Bretonnia player is panicking right now.
I
He
liked
needs to move
the
the damsel.
wand. I liked that. That was a good idea.
Yeah. Although it's
Ruin,
it's
though.
kinda meh play, I would
Soul
call
Stealer
it.
now.
Just because you can dodge a wand if you are on the move.
Mm-hmm.
So it tends to be better to do it on a stationary target that you have locked down in melee.
Yes. Yes. He's lucky that he didn't notice the
Yes.
on there.
Well, it's one of those plays that I would advise going. I would not advise going for. I think like you should try to limit as much as possible plays that rely on your opponent doing a mistake and not
Yes.
you doing a good thing. Like
Yeah.
it's not gonna be you playing well. It's gonna be your opponent playing bad, and you don't want to rely on that.
I always tell people when I'm teaching newer players, they have this tendency to, I'm walking up with a force and they'll put a burning head in front of me expecting me to walk into it. And I just
Yes.
stop and then the burning head goes and then I march again and I'm always telling them, I go, don't put a spell on a unit that's not fighting, pretty much. It's kind of just a
Yes.
rule of thumb. Just don't do it. If it's a damage spell, unless of course it's like an AoE, like a Flock of Doom, goes boom, immediately hits. Just
Yeah,
don't do it.
that's especially true for wind spell banishments and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to target range unit, the best timing to do so is to cast the spell the moment you see the volley going off, just because the units are gonna get staggered in the quote-unquote reload animation,
Now,
and they won't be able to dodge,
do you
or at least
think
not all of the model.
the Dark Elf player, I kind of feel like instead of investing as much on Louis as he did, I kind of wish this damsel had been pursued and driven off the battlefield. I think there was an opportunity to do that. The Sky engagement had been kind of won. Do you like the fact
Yes.
that the Dark Elf player put so much in on Louis? Louis is very damaged. Or do you think that this Damsel of Life could have been... What do you think about that?
Well, right. It was one of those situations where the Dark Elf army is the most mobile one. Like
Mm-hmm.
he has a lot of kiting tools,
Mm-hmm.
and he was not yet engaged in the melee engagement, and he also had air control. The annoying unit for him right now was the archers that could put some pressure on his range, but he could just like have tempo that situation, not engage the infantry, move outside of the range of the archers, and just fly over the damsel that's still routing and escort her off the map.
Yeah.
Because the air units of Bretonnia won't be able to follow that air squad and
Mm-mm.
fight somewhere else than where they've got archers to support them.
Exactly. And even if the
So
archers were shooting in at one of the air units, you could escort and dodge a little bit, right?
exactly. So the best play for Dark Elf right there might have probably been make sure the damsel is out, because Bretonnia with no magic will suffer, especially against Soul Stealer and all those kind of stuff that will damage really badly your units,
Mm-hmm.
your cavalry, your single entities. You want that healing. Luan can do without healing, but the Paladin won't. And the Paladin then is going to be really annoying for Morasi and for your single entities. So cutting the healing pretty early would have been probably the death of a game, whereas right now Bretonnia still had a chance. And I'm saying hard because I don't see the Brett heavy cav right now, and I'm really worried for all those peasants when you see that cavalry overloading the right wing of the Bretonian.
Yeah, absolutely. Cav coming back.
Yeah,
They're
the heavy cav is
uncontested.
chasing around. It's one of those situations where I think the Bretonian player lacks the experience to acknowledge that his cav needs to play a more defensive role on that battle. He has a really range heavy build. So what he wants to do right now, well, what he would have wanted to do, it's already too late, I think, was to cycle charge through his own infantry, through his own chaff, to damage the enemy front line while remaining in range to
Boom.
protect the archers, to
Boom.
pull out and defend against the cav charge.
Uh-huh.
Yes, exactly. The good old ping pong of Bretonnia.
Did you not hear how Saphir felt about Lance formation? He said it's unfortunately
Uh,
not very good, and I believe you said it's extremely, extremely situational.
yeah, I can explain a bit more why it's not good.
Yeah, go for
Because
it.
on paper it adds stats to the unit, so why not? But the big issue with lens formation is that the only uses for it is um, to pull through an infantry unit, a unit that you're not looking to damage, but you're looking to cross. The reason that is, when you are going for lens formation, you can't control how many of your knights are gonna make contact. It's always gonna be the same amount of knight, and it's like a lot of your knights are on the center of that lens formation, not fighting. One of the best statistics of your knight unit is the charge bonus, and the charge bonus wears off pretty quickly in melee. So when you're cycle charging and when you're using choke cavalry, what you really want to do is maximize the amount of knights that are going to make contact on the charge. Use that charge bonus and then disengage. Lens formation is fighting against you in that purpose, because most of your knights will be stuck in the center of the formation, not using the charge bonus, but still be around to take the spell, the range fire, and some attack in the back maybe when they are disengaging. So to push through, it's nice because your models are going to be bunched up. But to fight, you're going to have, yeah, you're going to have in just worse stats. You're not going to use your charge bonus as effectively as you would otherwise.
Yeah, so basically you're just saying it's good to like break into a box If they're protecting something inside that you really need to get to, you can do that. But other than
Yes,
that,
but it's still, even then, it's still tricky due to two things. If the infantry has too high of a mass, you're not gonna even be able to push through. And if the enemy player has enough mass to deny that unit pushing through, then you're gonna have just one cav unit stuck in the middle of the enemy box
and you're
that
not gonna
might just
like
get
that.
charged off
Yeah.
by rat augurs or something like that.
Okay.
And furthermore, since they are in a tighter formation, they are more susceptible to range fire. So cannon will damage the unit well, like worse, and so will like guns, archers, crossbow.
Absolutely, that makes sense. And that's definitely, I think cavalry and range units are kind of each other's own worst enemy, right? Ranged
Yes.
units can really damage cav. Cav can really damage ranged. It's all about the positioning and microing,
Exactly.
depending
It's a
on.
game of cat and mouse around the
Yeah,
infantry.
exactly. Alrighty. Thank you for that explanation. That was great. Okay,
My pleasure.
here we go. Let's see. Lewin coming in on Marathi. Marathi's very hurt. She's kind of fighting alone now on the ground. Yeah, she was trying to bully. I think she was trying to bully the damsel, but Louis disrupted that. Louis, though, getting destroyed at the moment by the master. Oh my goodness, no, he shatters. Oh no.
Oh, yeah, that's GG for Bretonnia.
Yeah, that is not good. That's not good.
Even though the balance of power still looks close enough,
Mm-hmm.
it's really the archers
The
right now. But
paladin is
archers
also
are
running
rising.
away, super low HP.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Peasant
that's
bowman.
dark elf victory.
I could, yeah. What's Bretonnia gonna do? These
It's
cavalry
too
were
late
so
right
out
now.
of position.
Besides, like that's perfect position for Soul Stealers and Terror out right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's so over. Look at everything just crumbling. The poor Bretonian player. My goodness. And that's it. Wow. Did that went from even to victory in
Yeah,
what 20 or 30 seconds?
exactly.
Wow. Wow.
Brutal stuff. That's one of the things with Bretonnia. It's one of those factions where when you're playing against it, if it's well played, it's gonna be super hard to beat because it feels impossible. Bretonnia overall has really cost-effective units on all categories, and thus when fighting against it, if the opponent uses those units pretty well, it's gonna feel like you're fighting someone with much more money than you had. But it's also one of the faction like I think is hard to pick up at first because you're gonna get super badly punished for your mistakes, right? His
Yeah.
composition was fine,
Yeah.
but he did one mistake with scarf positioning and he lost his entire army in 20 seconds.
Yeah. It was crazy. Alrighty. Is there any big overall advice you would have for those hopeful Bretonian players out there? You just said you get punished really, really heavily for a mistake, but you also said in the same breath they have really cost-effective units, and you can almost make your opponent feel like you've got more money than they do. Is there any advice you would give for someone that's looking to pick up Bretonnia?
Yes. If you are trying to pick up Bretonnia as a faction, you need to be aware of their strengths and weaknesses. It sounds obvious, put it like that, but basically what I'm trying to say by that is one of the strengths and or like one of the main thing about Bretonnia, they have a really predictable playstyle because they have one build that's basically good in a lot of matchup, right? The matchups in which it's gonna be like not great are the matchup where you're already supposed to lose. So one good thing about picking up Bretonnia is that you can go for that cliche Fey Paladin build that you will see everywhere, and you will practice that build in almost all of the matchup. So you will get some experience on the playstyle of the faction quite easily. The the main thing you need to think about when playing Bretonnia, when you start the battle, when you see both armies, you need to be the first out of the two players to understand, is the Cav gonna be forced to play aggressively or defensively? Do I have... Well, Bretonnia can kill the enemy army by Cav play and by archer power. Like, they've got really good bowmen. And when the battle starts, you need to understand, can I kill the enemy army with my bowmen, or do my knights need to be the heavy lifters? And if so, do I get control over mobility? If you get control over mobility, you don't need to protect your archers as much as you would have otherwise. Then your Cav can be more on the offensive. But if you see that your opponent is going to contest you for mobility and is going to feed your archers, play defensively. Recognizing the moment to go on the offensive and with your cavalry and when to play on the defensive is going to be the toughest thing to learn. But you will get used to it, and like I said, playing the same build over and over again in a lot of matchup won't be a loss of time, and it will be a good way to practice and to get that skill set easier and faster.
Excellent. Okay, I like one last question for you then. You mentioned you said you need to know when your cavalry should be aggressive or defensive. And you mentioned if they're going to contest the mobility game. So obviously if they have a lot of cavalry, then you should be more defensive and protect your archers is what you're saying. And if they don't, you can be aggressive and use them more on the infantry and whatnot. Okay.
It also depends on the speed of those cav units. Because if you have the faster cav, like let's say you are... We'll take the last matchup. Bretonnia against Dark Elf. If at the beginning of the battle you notice that your opponent has brought heavy cav on the Dark Elf side, those cav are slower than your heavy knight, and your cav is better than his. So you can probably look for the cav fight and not need to protect your archers as long as you're not letting him slip through your own army. The fact that you are faster will allow you to catch and get the cav fight you're looking for. But if he has a lot of Dark Riders, which are way faster than your heavy knights, then you're gonna always have to have at least some infantry chaff or one or two knights in your back pocket to protect your archers if you want to go more on the offensive. Speed is really important when playing Bretonnia. Your cav is fast, but not as fast as a light cav.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed you have mentioned speed a lot, and that's actually not something I've heard many players really talk about, but you're really highlighting for me the importance of speed, and that makes sense because often I hear if you have mobility you can control the pace of the game, of course, but I never really thought about the fact that if you have even more mobile cav than your opponent, you still can control the cav fight. You can control the mobility fight just because you've got that extra speed. Obviously, it's probably a little more micro-intensive, and you've got to practice that. But
yes.
I've never really thought of that too much as a stat that really needs to be paid attention to. But I will put more thought into that in the future. So that's a really big tip. That's what I personally am taking away from this the most is speed. You guys pay attention to the speed of your units and the enemy units.
It's, I think, a stat that's really overlooked. I like to put it this way. It doesn't matter how much melee defense you have. If you're never fighting the fight you're looking for, your stats mean nothing. And speed will allow you, if you are denying your opponent the range advantage, like say in a kite or you are managing to destroy his artillery with X or X tools, then speed becomes one of the most important stats on the battlefield, because it allows you to pick only good fights and deny the enemy good fights.
That's good. That's really good. I like that a lot. Speed. It doesn't matter what your stats are if you're not fighting in the right fight. There you go. Absolutely. It's like, of course, right? If you never land your sword on the opponent.
It sounds obvious when put like that, but yeah. It doesn't matter if you have 80 melee attacks or 20. If you're not fighting, you're not gonna use it.
That's the beauty. The beauty of good advice is that it sounds so obvious. You know, that's how you know it's some just really good advice. It's like, well, of course, speed's important because if you're not fighting, what are you doing? If your unit costs 1,200 and mine costs 3, and I just run away and your unit's not in the fight that whole time, you've just wasted 900 gold practically.
Exactly.
So, awesome. Awesome, man. Well, thank you for coming. Thank you for playing in that tournament. I hope to see you again. I hope to see you around the stream and whatnot. I know it's really late, but I really appreciate you taking time out to come talk Warhammer with us, watch those replays. I really enjoyed our time together, my friend. Chat
Well,
saying they hope you come again. That's fantastic, right? Though,
yeah,
you
that's
guys,
really kind.
this was really eye opening. There were quite a few things that that I learned, so I really appreciate that. And that's the whole point of this stream. We're all here to learn. That's what I do here in the Murph Turf. And again, just thank you. If you have any words or shout outs or anything, I don't know if you've got stuff you do, review stream, review of socials or whatever, just the floor is yours for whatever you would like to say to the fine people out there in the world.
No, I don't have much stuff to say. Just thank you for having me. It was a pleasure, and I hope to see you around as well.
All right, yeah, you absolutely. I'm around quite a bit, my friend.
Right.
All right,
Then I'll leave you with your stream. I'm gonna head off to bed.
thank you,
Thanks
dude.
for having me.
Have a wonderful night's sleep, and I'll see you the next time.